What's up, YouTube? Today I'm going to be doing a little bit different video than my normal videos. I'm going to be doing a how-to video, and it's going to be part of a series, how to make your own jigs and powder paint them and tie them and everything else. Today we're going to be going through the pouring part. Obviously it's the easiest part of making a jig, but it's also the part that you could kill yourself on, so it's kind of important. I use do-it molds, Lee pot, lead hooks, you know, all the stuff that comes along with it. I've poured probably, I don't even know, a couple tons of lead in my lifetime, probably more. Gonna go over some of the things you don't want to do when pouring lead. And this is really important, keep all water, food, anything combustible away from your Lee pot. The lead in there, it's over 700 degrees right now. I think its melting point is in the high 600s, and to pour you're around in the 700s, and boiling is 900. Just don't quote me on those. I know someone's going to make a comment with the exact numbers, and I don't really care about the exact numbers, but my point is this is hot, very hot. For working around it, generally, like I don't have them right now and I couldn't find them anywhere, but I generally wear the mechanics gloves, the leather mechanics gloves that fit really tight. You want to wear eyewear, and I always keep a hat on, just be, you know, I learned that lesson one time. Also, when you're melting lead, just go the safe way. Buy your lead. I buy mine off of eBay. I have a ventilation system here, but I hardly ever use it because the lead that I buy is pretty clean. If you're melting old tire weights and stuff like that, there's grease on them and everything else that burns off if you're doing that. I do have a propane set up in a cast iron pot for doing that, but I do it outside. My neighbors don't like it when I do it. I used to do it at the shop all the time when back when I used to have one, but for hobby purposes, just go and buy your lead. You're not saving that much money. You can buy 10 pounds of lead on eBay for 15, 20 bucks, 25 bucks shipped. My second word of advice is just to always use caution around the lead pot. Like I said, it's super hot. You don't want to tip it over. The Lee pots have a pretty good base, but they're still kind of a flimsy, just hobbyist type pot. Let's go ahead and pour some jigs. The mold that I'm using is a BBJ-3-AY. It's a bullet bass jig mold. You can see the 1/2 ounce is smoked. I don't know why I smoked it. This mold is about 10 years old. It pours fine. But what you're going to do is you're going to take your weed guard. I can only find one right now. I don't know why. But I'm going to pour some 3/8 ounce, so that's the middle hole. Just load your hook into the mold like so with the weed guard. You'll notice that the 32-886 hook is not the hook that they recommend for this jig, or for this jig. It's the 32-786, which is like the weighted hook, weighted jig hook or whatever. I don't like that hook in a jig, so I use the 32-886 and it fits fine. That's one of the sweet things about molding your own lead, is you can kind of do experiments with what hooks work for you. There's a ton of hooks out on the market, and you can find a hook that works for you and your jigs, and that's why I still mold my own lead for the most part. So when you're going to mold, this little sprue right here is where the lead comes out, and I always give it kind of an initial run to see how the flow is coming out. And if you use good lead, the flow should always be good, but if it starts to get plugged up after a while, you can take, it's a little tip here, you can take a piece of buzzbait wire, the straight piece, and grab your pliers and kind of clean out the hole, shove it up there and clean out the hole. Buzzbait wire works really good because it's .051 or whatever, the diameter of the wire, and that's about the same diameter as the hole, so it cleans it out, reams it out really well, and restores how good the flow is out of your pot. But these are just gravity pots. There's 10 pounds of lead in there, so 10 pounds of lead pushing it out. But what I want to do when I pour is I take and I stick the mold all the way up to it just like this, and then just give it a little pull. You can see it over poured a little bit, but that's fine. So you take your jig out, your nice brand new shiny jig, and I use my gate clippers to deal with the weed guard. And I see a lot of people like to twist the sprue off, but I use a gate cutters, and I just lightly pinch it and then just start to twist. And the reason I do that is it leaves a nice, really nice clean bottom to the jig, and there's not much cleanup left on that. So another tip too is once you start pouring, this mold gets really hot. That's kind of why you want to wear mechanics gloves, because if you start touching the mold and everything, you're going to burn your hands. And on some molds, not particularly this one, you got to touch the mold to load the hook in there. But it's just as simple as that. That's all it is. Use your gate cutters to pull the jig out. Just grab it by the sprue, lightly twist, and that's it. So that's about it to jig pouring. You just want to use extreme caution. Well ventilated area. And I hadn't started up my pot forever, so when I started it up I had to turn my vents on because it was smoking a little bit, because who knows what, there's probably bugs in there and everything else, because I'm out in the garage. I see a lot of people pour in their house, and that's fine if you want to do that, but just make sure you got ventilation if you do it, because otherwise you're gonna end up pissing your wife off. Something gets in your lead pot and starts to smoke, it stinks. So I wouldn't recommend pouring in your house. The other thing I wanted to show you, and this is optional, but I used to do it all the time for customer jigs, and I don't have any rubber gloves, I'd wear rubber gloves. This is just a simple emery board, I guess you'd call it. It's for nails. You used to look at me really weird when I'd go and buy 20 packages of these. But what you do with these is you got kind of a little nub left on there, no matter how good you are with gate cutters. You just go over it a couple times and it sands it down. So when you paint it, it's going to have a nice smooth finish and look really good. So I always wanted my jigs to look as good as possible. I know that people say it doesn't matter, but if it matters to the fishermen, then it matters. So that's pretty much it for pouring the jig. It's going to be a short video, and we will, next up we'll do the painting process. So stay tuned for that. I got what I think is good tips for that. So but we'll see how it goes. Thanks for watching.